I thank you all for coming to our panel, our marketing panel. So let's give a round of applause to our panelists for coming out today. We want to thank you in advance. So we do have 5 panelists here today, which is very exciting, and they are from places like the Mount, and we've also got people from Ambassatours, so this is going to be very exciting. I will introduce them shortly. And just before we get started, I want to do some housekeeping. First of all, if there is a fire, in case of a fire, there are emergency exits around the building. There are 2 at the back there, so you will evacuate through the nearest fire exit to you. And we also ask that you turn off your cell phones, so no tweeting and picture taking at this. We are live streaming, and we just don't want any interruptions or flashing lights, things like that. And this is only an hour-long panel, so we just ask that you would stay seated throughout the panel and just remain here while we have our panelists sharing. They've been kind enough to give us their time, so let's be kind enough to give them ours. And there will be a question period at the end of the panel, so hold all questions until that point when you'll be able to address our panelists and have any questions that you may have for them. And as many of you already know, this is a Learning Passport event. So in order to be efficient, we ask that you fill out your Learning Passport pages before we come to you to stamp your passport. So we will be coming to you for that, so you don't need to rush up to the front here, all right? So now I'm going to introduce our panelists. We are starting at the opposite end of me here. We have Sean Buckland from Ambassatours Grey Line and Murphy's The Cable Wharf. And then we have Shannon Pennell, coming from her own media company, which is Pennell Media. And then we have Ken McCormick, and he's coming today from Moosehead Breweries Limited. And then we have Lindsay Cross from our own Mount St. Vincent University. And then at the end here, we have Joanne McLean from the Halifax International Airport Authority. So let's give them a warm welcome. All right, so starting with Sean, we're going to ask the first question to introduce yourself and your position and a little bit about the company that you work for.
Sure. My name is Sean Buckland. I'm with Ambassatours Grey Line and Murphy's The Cable Wharf. I'm the Director of Sales there. Our company really has multiple purposes. From the motor coach side of our business, we operate a 12-month of the year charter fleet that does transportation for any type of group. For example, we would take the Mount St. Vincent University varsity teams to their games. We have a sightseeing division within our motor coach fleet that operates here in Halifax, and we also have shore excursions for our motor coach fleet in 4 major ports in Atlantic Canada. When it comes to Murphy's The Cable Wharf, we operate on the water, a number of sailing vessels. We operate a 400 capacity restaurant as well for events, weddings, etc. And we operate Atlantic Canada's leading tour, the Harbour Hopper Tours. They are now the most sought after and purchased tour in Atlantic Canada. And combined, the 2 companies actually make the largest sightseeing company in Canada when you consider land and sea operators.
Very good. And then next we'll hear from Shannon.
My name is Shannon Pennell, and I am media strategist / owner of Pennell Media. I worked on the agency side of the business for 16 years before I went on my own 3 years ago. So I do media strategy, planning, buying, trafficking for media clients in both Canada and the US. I have a wide range of clients from food industry to post-secondary education to travel and tourism.
Excellent. Ken?
I'd like to thank Professor Wadden for inviting me here today and for all the students that showed up. As I said, my name is Ken McCormick. I'm with Moosehead Breweries. I'm the sales manager for Nova Scotia and PEI, and I deal with everything from the liquor boards to the licensees, restaurants, every place where beverage alcohol is sold.
Thank you. Next, Lindsay.
My name is Lindsay Cross, for those of you who haven't met yet. I work here at the Mount, and we were established in 1873, and I won't tell you anything else because you guys probably know the Mount just as good as I do. My role here is the brand and integrated marketing specialist. I work as part of the communications, marketing, and student recruitment team. So I'm responsible for marketing and advertising efforts externally, as well as our social media strategy and all of our web and digital efforts as well. And it's a lot of fun.
Excellent.
Hi, everybody. Joanne McLean. I'm with the Halifax Airport Authority, and essentially our organization manages the Halifax Stanfield International Airport. Great place to work. My role there is Director of Corporate Marketing, and as well as something that we call non-aeronautical revenue. So I have a bit of a different position where I'm focused on marketing, but I'm also focused on sales. So part of my role is business development, bringing in new concessions, bringing in advertising programs. The marketing side, it's looking after our branding, and actually we're in the middle of a rebranding exercise right now. So I've been there for a couple of years, and I have to say I went to the Mount a number of years ago. So it's great to be back.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. So as students here, many of us will be graduating within the next year or so. We kind of want to know, how did you end up where you are today? And did you study marketing? And where you are today, was that a part of your plan? So we'll start with Shannon this time.
I didn't study marketing at all. I had no desire to get into advertising or marketing. I did my undergrad in political science, and I was taking my master's in international studies. I wanted to work for UNICEF or a company like that. And I needed a job while I was doing my master's, and ended up working in a call center that did market research in an advertising agency. And at the time, they needed someone to fill in for the receptionist for lunch, and they couldn't just have one person in, or bring me in for 1 hour, so they brought me in for 3, and I worked in accounting and media. I didn't know what media buying was or media planning. I had never heard of it when I went to school, and so I stayed there. Then eventually the accountant left, and they moved me into accounting full-time in the summer, so I decided to take a year off school, and I never went back to my master's. I did, however, like the media side of the business better than accounting, so I took a lesser position as a coordinator at another agency to get into the media department full-time, which was a good move for me. And then I decided this is where I was going to stay. I loved it. Media people get a lot of free tickets and trinkets and trash, and it's a cool place to work. And so in 2007, through the Institute of Communications and Advertising, I took my advertising and accredited professional, which I did on weekends over a year in an accelerated program.
Thank you, Shannon. And then we'll hear from Ken.
I studied commerce at St. Mary's. I didn't have anything to do with marketing. Back in 2004, I went back to SMU and got my master's in project management. My whole career, I've been with Moosehead for 20 years. Prior to that, I was with Molson for a little bit. So I've been in the beer business my entire adult life. In the beer business, sales and marketing go hand in hand. And I don't do a lot of direct marketing. I wouldn't be in charge of redesigning labels, but I would do what's called a lot of field marketing, kind of where the rubber hits the road. Our marketing people will come up with some amazing programs that we would use for our partners, our bar owners, our licensees, and they would come up with the premise, the hook, and then they would bring it to me, and I would come up with the deliverable of how it can be executed, so it's easy for the bartender to ensure that you participate in the program, make sure the bartender wants to participate, make sure the bar and the consumer both get a win-win situation out of it. So that would be kind of my marketing.
Excellent. And now Lindsay?
I did my undergrad degree in political science as well. And by this stage in my life, I was supposed to be a corporate lawyer. It didn't work out. In my summer employment opportunities, I was introduced to promotion and media relations and event management. And so a combined 3 to 4 years of 3 months at a time introduced me to someone who became a mentor for me. And they really said, you know, if you're enjoying what you're doing, there is a formal thing that is called, and that's called public relations, because I really didn't know much about what it even was at the time. So I ended up graduating with my degree and moved to the city to take the advanced diploma program at NSCC, and I graduated from there. And again, it was public relations, and so once I got into the field, I worked for a year in a corporate environment. And then I moved to an agency environment where I was introduced to a very niche strategic tactic to build relationships with key publics, and that is events. So it really was working with a lot of different clients from different industries, different sectors, and I understood the real role of events as being a brand-inspired interaction between an organization and people that really matter to its success. So after I left there, I came here and joined the team and was responsible for social media and digital web projects, a lot of kind of client consultation for programs and departments. And I was here for 6 months, and after being here 6 months, I thought, well, I'm back in post-secondary, so I might as well do some studying while I'm here. So in May, I'll graduate with my master's degree in public relations as well. And so really understanding, to Ken's point about how integration has really, especially with, vertical integration and digital platforms, sales, marketing, communications, it really is all about raising awareness and increasing engagement and relationship building with people who will help you succeed. So I'm really happy to now be in both the marketing and communications realm, and brand has played a really big role in helping me understand how that fits together. So I never studied marketing, but I have as of late, and I really love it. So never close a door on yourself in terms of what you think you might be doing someday, because I just basically landed on it by accident.
Excellent. Thank you, Lindsay. Joanne?
So when I was in high school and university, I won't take it that far back for too long, but I actually didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea. So I decided that I was going to follow my friends to university, and I came here. And I took business administration, and I didn't stay with it. Very similar, I think, to Shannon's story. I found a job, a summer job, and loved it, so I stayed, and I was working. So essentially, no, I didn't study marketing, and no, marketing was not part of my career plan. But as I got out into the workforce, I was very fortunate that I was out in the workforce in a time where the workforce was very active, and there was a lot of jobs out there. And so what I did is I started with a couple of different organizations just to try to find out what I actually did want to do. And so I started out in administration and was able to get a job at Coca-Cola, and that started my career. I actually worked in finance, and I worked in operations, but I worked in sales and marketing as well. And I had a boss that really believed in me and let me do things that I wouldn't normally probably have had the opportunity to do when I was able to prove myself. And so that was really the start of my sales and marketing career. And I advanced within Coca-Cola for over 13 years. Then I left there and I went to Atlantic Lottery, which was a really cool gig as well, both were. And I did that for 8.5 years, and I primarily worked in sales and marketing. And now I'm at the Halifax Airport Authority, and I am in marketing and really in sales again. So similar to what Ken was saying, sales and marketing, in my opinion, go hand in hand. There's different aspects of marketing that are tied with sales, and then there's different aspects of marketing that are tied with advertising. But at the end of the day, marketing, in my opinion, is woven in with everything that you do day to day. Even if you don't study it, when you're looking for a job, you're marketing yourself. And Lindsay talked about branding. You're a brand. And it's all about how you market yourself. So, this certainly wasn't my career plan, but I absolutely love it. The marketing world has opened up a whole new world for me over the last few years. I've was able to travel all over the world. I've been able to meet so many amazing people, both professionally and quite honestly, personally. I've been able to attend a lot of events. So I really enjoy marketing. I think it's a great way to start, and I think it's just the beginning for folks to, if you want to branch out into other areas of business.
Perfect. Now we'll hear from Sean.
I went to school at St. Mary's University to study criminology and actually did a minor in business. I was putting my way through school working at the Five Fishermen restaurant when I was asked to take the sommelier program to learn about wine. Through that program, I started a business with a business partner called Valley Wine Tours, and we operated the first sommelier-led wine tours of the Annapolis Valley wineries, and grew that business into operating wine tours overseas in Italy and Spain and other countries for guests that wanted to view those areas. And we sold that company in 2008 to Ambassatours Grey Line. where I came on board with Ambassatours. And over the years, started in really sales-driven role with Ambassatours. Have purchased shares in the company over the years, and as time went on, started to develop a larger sales team and a larger sales focus. And much like the other panelists, it's not solely marketing that we're involved in. I would use the term more partnerships for us. We've always been on a bit of a shoestring budget in the sense that we're a very seasonal business, so cash flow is tough, especially during the winter times, and opportunities to grow really come through partnerships and leveraging our partnerships with our industry partners, being able to cross-promote and drive business in all directions. And for us, one of the big things that I think we do well on the marketing side is differentiate ourselves. And so most of you would know us as the company with the kilts. The kilts has been a great brand recognition for us, for guests coming from far and wide, and those avenues have been received well for us in the sense that we've been able over the years to be quite creative on a shoestring budget and be able to really differentiate ourselves and help to promote our brand.
Perfect. Kind of recognizing a pattern here that you guys not everyone was sure of where they were going to be in 20 years when they were in university. Is anyone else here feeling that way? They're not sure what they're going to be in 20 years? Nobody? Oh, just me? Okay. Well, at least it's comforting to hear from you that, even though we don't know necessarily where we're going to be, there are lots of opportunities out there, and to have that open mind, I think that's so important, and I can see that through your career experiences. So thank you so much for sharing. Now, in light of all these experiences that you've had, is there anything that you would do differently if you could do it over again? And I guess I would also ask, if there's nothing you would change, why would you keep that experience? So we'll start with Ken this time.
I've always said my career has been better luck than better management. But I would just give you guys the advice that jump on any opportunity that's out there. You're young, you're eager, you're well educated, and if you stretch your comfort zone and try something that you like the idea of but don't know what it is, don't be scared to make mistakes. And if it turns out that it was a mistake, it's a learning experience and move on to the next. So that would be my take on it.
Perfect. Lindsay?
It's hard. I would say that I wouldn't change anything simply because I think back to a former employer who said you learn more from your mistakes than you do your successes. And so even when you're in a tough situation, at the end of the day, you take a lot from that. You get to influence, what your future steps look like because of that experience. I wouldn't change anything just simply for that fact, although if I could add a different layer to my experience, I probably would have opened myself up to more subject matter during my undergraduate degree because I was so focused on where I thought I was going to be that I really didn't enable myself to learn more about business. And I often wonder, had I opened the door up just slightly earlier, would I have been introduced to marketing and communications earlier on? But I value the experiences that I've had and encourage you guys to do the same.
Excellent.
Same here. I actually wouldn't change anything. What my career path and business opportunities has made me the person that I am today. In terms of, I used to be a very shy individual. When I graduated high school, I would never have thought that I would be sitting up here right now talking to you folks, or 2 weeks ago in front of 650 people singing and dancing for mental health. So didn't think any of that would ever have happened when I graduated high school. So all my experiences has certainly helped me become more confident, become more comfortable speaking with people and meeting new people. But similar to Lindsay, if I were to add something, I would certainly have finished my degree. And I'm not just saying that because I'm sitting in front of you here today. I actually do mean that. And I say that because 3 years ago I had the opportunity to go to Queen's University, and attend an executive management course there and focused on marketing and strategy. And it really gave me the bug to go back to school. So my future maybe isn't still complete yet, and you never know, I may go back. But the other thing, I want to thank you very much for saying that I went to high school 20 years ago. So thanks for that compliment.
All right, we'll hear from Sean now.
Yeah, as far as changing anything, I don't think so. I mean, it's hard to look back at your decisions when you really want to look forward. I think I echo what Joanne is saying, that it's continuous learning. Any opportunity you have to learn, whether it's in the field that you're interested in or not, is a good opportunity in my opinion. For example, tomorrow I write a test to hopefully be able to operate a 60-ton commercial boat vessel, and so those are things that I've always prided myself on, is the fact that any education, whether it be with wine or sales or marketing or operating of vehicles, want to learn and want to have that on my resume. So as far as changing anything, no. Every day is obviously different when you're in the tourism business, and the more you can come to the table and live every day to the fullest will open more opportunities, and leave no stone unturned. Especially as young students, obviously it's a great opportunity to get into to volunteer where there's opportunities in marketing or sales, and as mentioned earlier by the panel, individuals are a brand, so get your name out there, be present at different events and networking events, and as you get your name out there and get recognized, good things will happen. For us at Ambassatours Grey Line and Murphy's the Cable Wharf, we've hired a number of Mount St. Vincent University graduates. Most recently, Kevin Burgess, who joined our sales team and is doing really well. He just actually came back from Seattle on a great sales conference trip, and is really inspired. So the doors are always open, and if you're willing to put the effort in.
Perfect. Shannon?
I think if I had to do it differently again, I would have mastered Excel 20 years ago. Like Lindsay, I think if I had opened the door a bit to marketing earlier in my studies, I would have been in the business a bit longer, and it would have been more beneficial to me. I think when I first started in the business, I didn't have the work-life balance. I just worked all the time, and you tend to burn out. So I do have that balance now. So if I was able to go back, I would create that work-life balance where I wasn't working all the time or just gave your all to your job. I think it's really important while establishing yourself that you still have time for your family and for you to avoid that burnout factor.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, all, for sharing that, I guess, your experiences in that way, too, because, for us, we don't want to make those mistakes, as many of us would view them, but as you've all clearly stated, these mistakes, as we view them, are oftentimes the best learning experiences. And so, as students, it's encouraging to hear that when we go into the workforce, as we take our co-ops and things like that, that we're all gaining valuable information. So thank you for sharing that. All right, so then the next question would be, how can we as students, improve our chances of landing a marketing job when we graduate? And we'll start with Lindsay this time.
Oh, great. I made a couple of notes, so if I'm looking down, that's what I'm looking at. I made a couple bullet points, so I'll run through them, and then I'll end on my favorite one. So the first one was read a lot. And I don't mean just reading from your textbooks, because I know we have lots of those, but read about what's happening in the world. Be aware of what's happening in your industry. For example, how many people here know what Google Analytics is? I see some hands. That's exciting. If you don't, definitely look into the value of data-driven decision-making, because it's become, big data has become the way that we make businesses more efficient. It's how we better strategize for marketing campaigns, and it's how we're able to better track our performance. So looking and reading at articles and really trying to be able to give back to the organization that you're hopefully going to one day be working for. And when you bring that demonstrated knowledge to the table, it's going to wow someone. It'll help set you apart. Communication skills, I have to say that because yes, it's a bit of a soft skill, but it's so critical. You have to be able to really convey what you're trying to have land well with others in a concise way. And so that can be really tough, but working on your communication skills, especially writing, is really important. Networking, I know that a couple people have mentioned that. I'm going to take it a step further and say that when you're in post-secondary education, you are acquiring a toolbox full of skills, full of knowledge, things that a lot of people in our community often don't have access to or don't have the resources to pay for. So when nonprofit or when organizations are out there looking for volunteers, consider how you can go and help make a difference for someone else. It's kind of the social responsibility piece of having a post-secondary education. And my final point is know who you are and know how you want to be remembered. That is your brand, and it really is how you look and feel and sound online, in person, and on paper. So everything from your resume and cover letter to your Facebook or Twitter, profile, that all counts. And for people who've never met you, they're still going to determine what they think about you and who you are without even meeting you. So really think about that, and I think that if you have an understanding of your brand, it will certainly help you to narrow your focus in terms of the organizations you look at joining in the future.
It's great advice. Thank you, Lindsay. Now, Joanne?
Similar things to Lindsay. One is definitely be yourself. Don't go in to an organization for an interview and pretend to be somebody you're not, and then you land the job, and then people are like, well, who is this person? So just be authentic to yourself. Ask a lot of questions. That's key. Don't be afraid to ask a question. I know you've heard it before. I hear it probably every week. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and it's very true. The more questions you ask, it means that you're interested in what you're doing and you're interested in learning. And don't be afraid to learn. And there's, like Lindsay said, read. And there's so many. You guys have the world literally at your fingertips. So there's just so many things that you can look into. Don't get overwhelmed. I say that at the same time that I say read, but really don't get overwhelmed. And be patient. Opportunities will come. They may not come maybe at the rate that you want them to, but the world is, again, out there. You folks all have great long careers ahead of you, so just be patient, and there's lots of opportunity out there. You might have to start somewhere that you don't want to start, but I always look forward to the opportunities that are in front of you. And if you show that kind of passion and eagerness for what you're doing, then you'll have nothing but success, really. People will appreciate that. So that's the advice for me.
All right, perfect. Sean?
And I'll just add to the comments. I think one avenue is to let your intentions be known. So, when you're working with employers or prospective employers, I think it's great if you can let your intentions be known, that your interest level, in the sense that you want to get your foot in the door, but you ultimately want to be in the marketing field or whatever field that you want to be in. Be persistent, especially from a sales marketing of yourself and branding of yourself, that things don't come with one ask or two asks. You have to be persistent, you have to be driven, you have to show your employers and your potential partners that you are committed and you are going to move forward, and show them that you are the person that they are looking for. So that's a good thing, to be persistent. Also when it comes to getting your name out, don't discount opportunities that you may not think lead somewhere. And I'll use the example in the sense from the sales side, that oftentimes we attend events that maybe it's not our target market, but it's not always who we're talking to in that particular moment. It's who that person we're talking to knows as well. And so in other words, you may not have a direct link to the person that you're speaking to or the event that you're at, but there's a great opportunity that that person you're speaking to can recommend you down the road or can help you down the road in another field. So leave, as I mentioned before, no stone unturned, because it's amazing always to me where you think some things won't lead and they become the most beneficial to you.
Excellent. Right, Shannon?
First of all, I would say master Excel. You have no idea how much you'll need that if you want to work in marketing. I would just echo again what the other panelists said. Use every contact you have. I am a frequent lecturer at universities, and it amazes me how few students contact me when I freely give out my contact information. And I've actually been able to get 4 students in the doors of agencies. Another thing I would add is be nice. You never know who is around you. Be as nice to the janitor as you are to the CEO. You never know who his son or brother is. You never know where you're going to make contacts. So always be nice to the people you work with. And again, don't be afraid to take a lesser position than the one you want, because getting your foot in the door is a huge part of it. And a lot of times companies will only advertise within, and that is truly your way to move up. So don't be afraid that the starting salary or position is not what you want, because generally it will lead to something bigger and better.
Excellent. And finally, we'll end with Ken.
Well, this spring there's going to be a lot of Mount students hitting the job market with similar resumes. So before you can even get that interview, you have to have that resume jump off the page. So you have to have that first quality. Now, not everybody can graduate at the top of their class. Not everybody can be the MVP of the sports team. So you have to look at yourself to see what that first quality is. It's going to make you stand off the page. And if you don't see it, if you're a modest person, go to one of your close friends. Ask what your first quality is. You could be a world traveler. You could, there's very many people in this room. Everybody has a great story to tell. But make sure you tell that story to get in. And then once you get the job, make sure you're not one-dimensional. Don't rely on that you're a hard worker, because guess what? Everybody's going to be a hard worker. Make sure that if you are not the athletic person, you sign up for the company softball team. You expand your comfort zones and continue to grow both professionally and personally, so your first quality will just become a memory that got you your resume noticed.
Excellent. Well, I've been taking notes here just on some of your advice here. Hearing from these people is so amazing, because we're all here getting ready to get jobs and graduating, things like that. So for those of you that maybe missed some of these, I would say the key ones here would be Master Excel. I've definitely seen that pop up. As someone that struggles with Excel, I may have to take that one to heart. Don't disqualify any opportunities. I really like that, because we're students. We're not going to get the CEO and the manager jobs right away, so that's kind of eye-opening. And as well, to be yourself. And don't get overwhelmed with it. So that's really excellent. Thank you for sharing all those pointers for us. And I will just ask you to share any final thoughts or words that you have for students, anything that has sparked while others were talking that you'd like to share, because we're open, we're sponges ready to soak in whatever you have for us. So we can start with Joanne.
A couple things sort of hit me when I was listening to the other panelists speak, and I'll give you an example of taking opportunities that you might think, well, I have a degree, why would I take this opportunity? And I started out working, I didn't have a degree, but I started out as an admin assistant, and I'm now a director in an organization. I've held a few senior positions, both at Coca-Cola, at the lottery, and now at the airport. So definitely don't discount, opportunities that might not look like they're going somewhere, because there's always a ton of opportunities. So I really want to reiterate that one. The other one I would really reiterate is what Ken said about getting involved. That's so important. You meet so many people that way. And there's also lots of organizations where if you live here, if you live elsewhere, that you can get involved in, whether they're entrepreneur driven or they're just simply student driven or young adult driven. Please go out and take a look. So just want to reiterate those two, because I know those are two things that hit home with me, and I've learned a great deal from both. So all I want to say in closing, from my perspective, first want to thank the folks from the Mount for inviting me back. It's kind of cool to be back where you went to school. And I also want to wish all of you the best of luck. The other thing is, by the way, that I forgot to say, if you're not on LinkedIn, get on LinkedIn.
Yeah, perfect. Sean?
Well, I'd like to mention that we actually have a job fair coming up April 11th and 12th at Murphy's at Cable Wharf, and you'll see the marketing come out, branded, join our team. But although mostly what we're hiring for will be seasonal positions, it really stands to mention what we are talking about today by getting your foot in the door. And I can tell you that our recent manager that we hired in a different field actually started as a dishwasher with us about 5 years ago. So that's a good testimonial that getting your foot in the door can bring good things. And so hope to see many of you down there April 11th and 12th.
Perfect. Now we'll hear from Shannon again.
I would just touch on what Lindsay mentioned earlier is really be careful. Don't live your whole life online where you have to post every thought and feeling. You know, employers do check. You know, everyone gets Googled, and you know, if your Twitter timeline is full of your party escapades and you know, things that not necessarily don't want employers to know. You know, it's not a diary, it's an online, you know, social media where everyone can check it if you know, have it open, and just be really cautious of that. Yes.
Perfect. Ken?
Hopefully everybody's graduating with very minimal student loans. If you don't have a career opportunity right away, please take the opportunity to travel. Pretty soon you'll have mortgages and Leon's payments and stuff that you never even considered before. So if you do travel, it'll add to your world experience. It may give you that first quality to talk about in an interview, but I just caution you, go away for a little bit, don't go away too long, and make sure your degree stays fresh. And if you do go away too long, just do some sort of refresher course and keep it current. But world experience goes a long way in terms of getting through that first interview and relating some stories about yourself. So don't be scared to travel if there's nothing lined up for you the day you graduate.
All right, and we'll finish up with Lindsay.
I've been here at the Mount for almost 4 years, and one thing that I can say about looking and getting to know a lot of students here, people who choose to come here, this is not a boastful place. This is a place where people take quiet pride. It's like the humble brag, right? You know you're awesome, but you just don't want to say it too loudly. And for those watching via live stream, you too. But the point I want to make about that is you are your own director of marketing and communications and sales. You are your own CEO. And so you have to be confident enough to know your value and to be able to approach other people. So Joanne had mentioned LinkedIn. How many people here have LinkedIn profiles? Okay, so the rest of you need to make one. How many people here have reached out and pressed the connect button with someone else? You have. Does anyone want to share how they did it? Did you just press connect, or? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Okay. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mhm. Absolutely. So for those who maybe couldn't hear, if I can paraphrase, when you're engaged and you meet someone, be timely. Take that moment and make the most of it, and recognize that you never know when they're going to come back in your life. Joanne and I actually, Joanne was a former client of mine, and then we came back, different roles, different positions, and we met during like a volunteer activity. It was just so fun. But had I not, gotten to know Joanne in our former life, like it might not have been as easy or kind of fun. So to make the most of that moment, the piece I want to hint on about LinkedIn is don't necessarily wait until you get to shake someone's hand at an event. If you have determined that you see yourself in industry or sector X, Y, or Z, what's your short list? Where do you want to be? You don't have to wait for things to come to you. You can say, you know what, I'm going to reach out to said person, director of marketing, because people like us, we're people who sat in seats just like you, and we are willing to share with you our expertise, our advice, our counsel, mentorship, whatever that might look like for you. You just need to ask. So rather than connecting on LinkedIn by simply pressing connect and that it's like the random message of, I would like to connect with you on LinkedIn. And they're like, I don't know who you are. Make it personal. Say, I'm a student. I would love 15 minutes of your time. Could we sit down and connect? And I guarantee many, many of them will agree to do that for you. So be your own CEO and have the confidence to know that you're all walking away with a huge toolkit to offer someone. So be confident in that.
Excellent. Thank you so much to all of you for sharing your thoughts. We are going to have a question period now, but before we do that, let's just give them a huge round of applause and thank them for coming today. So anyone that has a question, I would encourage you to, I believe the mic is not working, so you can just come maybe down to the front so that they can hear you, address the panelists. Please feel free to do so. I am going to ask Joanne a question. Has the Mount changed at all since you were here?
Not this room, but yes, it has. The property has changed. I don't think this room's, the seating, I remember this well. I actually think it was still the same colors, but no, not a whole lot. This part, but yes, outside the property, it's changed quite a bit. And
Awesome.
I recall there was more parking than there was today.
There wasn't.
Oh, there wasn't?
So do we have anyone that has any questions for our panelists? I would definitely encourage you to ask questions. They clearly have more experience than any of us do right now, so might be good idea to take advantage of that. All right, if we don't have any questions, then we'll start stamping the passports. Don't forget to... Pardon? Oh, there's a question? Would you like to come up and ask the panelists? Okay. Did you face any difficulties in your position? Did you have any failures or difficulties in your position?
Yes.
How long do we have?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've had lots. I mean, I've had when I was in sales, I had clients that I would go talk to that would yell at me and stamp their fist on their table because they weren't getting their own way. I've had really bad bosses, which, in turn I didn't learn from, so, it wasn't as successful as I wanted to be. I've had projects not go the way that I'd like them to go. And with every one of those failures or, things that didn't go my way, I learned a great deal from. So I look at, I'm not afraid now to take risk and to take opportunities, because at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, you move on to the next thing. And if it does work out, that's even better. But I've learned so much from not doing things maybe the way I want it to, or things not turning out the way I wanted them to, or having some folks that I've worked for that I've not necessarily agreed with their style. I've learned an amazing amount over my career from that. Hope that answers your question. I don't know if anybody else.
Yeah, I would just add that if you ever find yourself in a position where you're not feeling challenged, or that there's a bit of a battle there, for me personally, I know that that's never going to be enough for me, because you want to go in and be a game changer. And so, like Joanne said, it's you have to take some risks, and sometimes they don't pay off. You develop a super great marketing or communication strategy on paper, and it flops, and it's going to happen. But it doesn't say that you're a bad planner or bad at strategy. Sometimes you just don't have control over the world, sadly, and you just gotta have to roll with the punches.
I could talk about failure for quite a while, but just as long as you learn from it, and in the business world, you're always kind of treading water, so to speak. If you're not moving forward, you're done. So in order to move forward, you make mistakes, and you just learn your lessons and keep on going.
I've been fired, I've been laid off, I've had some health issues that an employer wasn't supportive of. Like Joanna, had a lot of bad, crazy bosses, and it does make you stronger. For me, it led to self-employment and running a successful business. I've had some bad hires as well, and again, you just learn from it all. I'm not saying that some nights you just don't want to put the pillow over your head and, to go that route, but you
She might cry.
you learn from it all, and your bad days are all you survived more. You've had more good days than you survived bad days, put it that way. But it's not all sunshine and roses. I think everyone thinks that marketing and advertising is so fun and exciting. And I had one assistant who was obsessed with the show Bewitched. And I don't know if you've ever watched that show. It's, I think, from the 70s. But the guy, he's the suit, he's the creative, he does media, he does it all. And she came in as an assistant position thinking that was going to be her role when she was just doing data entry. And she didn't last long. So, I mean, advertising is, it's fun. You get to do a lot of wonderful and creative things. But it's also very stressful. And it's a lot of math, a lot of numbers, a lot of strategy. And again, just the good days outweigh the bad.
Yeah, I just say, it's always a roller coaster. There's ups and downs. You'll always miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You need to live every day to the fullest, and don't make decisions on the spot when you're upset, and make knee-jerk decisions, because things always tend to work out in the end, and don't sweat the small stuff, and keep moving forward.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Oh, all right.
Okay, so I have two questions. Oh, so first question, in almost all different programs, we are forced to be in groups. So, how does it feel working in groups and dealing with personalities? And second question is, I don't remember, so how does it feel working in groups in your actual profession?
I guess I'll reiterate the question just for the online crowd. The question was, how do you feel working in groups in a professional setting as opposed to in a study situation?
I'm going to guess the same way you feel working in groups sometimes. So you have the folks who are eager to help and do their part, then you have the folks that aren't, and somehow are successful because they've just basically rode on your coattails. So there's definitely dynamics that come into play in work environment, no different than it is in a school environment in terms of groups and projects. I've worked on a ton of projects in various different capacities, and there isn't one that I can tell you that I walked away from without some type of conflict or situations. It's all, you know what, though, the advice I can give you is it's all about how you contribute to the team. You can't control what everybody else does, but you can certainly control how you take it and how you contribute, but then how you react to how other people contribute. If there's one thing I can tell you is being in a team, there's definitely the ability to use your leadership abilities, and that's where you'll learn from being in a group in university. You'll learn how to become a leader, and you'll also learn a lot about what kind of leader you are. So it's really all about how you contribute and how you sort of react to everybody else, but it's quite similar.
Yeah, I remember, I'm type A keener. It's, really? Yes.
Shocking.
And that's okay, I know that about myself. But the challenging thing for the differential in sometimes labeled as personality, I think that sometimes labeling it as personality makes it personal. And ultimately, when you're working in a group, it's about approach, and it's about the end goal, and that you have to have trust that everyone who's around you has something to bring to the table. And it's how you really bring that out in everyone that will lead to a successful, end product. One of the things I learned as a project manager when I was in event production was that if you spend a little bit of time at the beginning getting to know the people who you're working with, ask them, what are your expectations? Do you like to brainstorm, or do you like to prepare for that type of situation? Are you good on a deadline? Do you need quiet to do work? Would you prefer to go away? By raising the awareness of everyone's expectation and what their own kind of comfort zone is, that helps everyone be aware of how they can help everyone else, do their best. So that's what I would encourage. A little bit of planning time at the beginning to get to know who you're working with can really, make your project flourish.
Excellent.
I always think of the old 80-20 rule. 70% of the people I deal with would be customers, 20% would be my superiors, and 10% would be people that report to me. So for your customers, you find their hot button, you find what they're interested in, and you satisfy their needs because you're always selling. For your bosses and superiors, you figure out their hot button pretty quick because if they're happy, you're happy. But the people that you manage, the 20%, will drive you nuts. And they're the ones that they should conform to you on some level, but you have to find a relate and get the message across. And again, you can't sweat the small stuff. If they constantly make the same mistake every Monday morning, that's just their personality and you kind of get past it. But it's managing people, which is harder than managing clients or bosses.
I'm sure you're familiar with the expression, there's no I in team, but there is a me. Like Joanne said, working in a group university is pretty much the same. There's a lot of egos, a lot of feelings. I guess my best advice is try not to take it personally. When I started at an agency, a colleague said to me, "You're not here to make friends," which stung at the time, but it's true. You're not going to be everybody's friend that you work with. And again, just try not to take it personally and realize that everyone has something going on in their life and it might be coming from a different place.
Yeah, and I would echo the comments that recognize people's strengths, try to determine who can do what for the team, and as you get into business and you start to build your own team, you'll definitely recognize that team is how you get more done. There's only so many hours in the day, and nobody can do it alone, and it's how you grow. When you start to take things off your plate that other team members can do, gives them an opportunity to grow, gives you an opportunity to grow, and the best advice I've ever been given is surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with the people that can take you where you need to go.
Excellent advice. Yeah, that's something that we can put into play right away. So thank you for that. Do we have any more questions? We have time for a couple more. You in the front?
I have two, but I can ask one.
Right. Feel free to ask.
So my first question is, the value of volunteer experience was mentioned. I'm just wondering if you guys have any specific, opportunities, volunteer opportunities related to marketing. And then my second question is, how do you guys, for those who have project management experience, how do you value that experience in the workforce? And if you don't have it, like how would you, or would you wish you had some project experience?
So the first question was volunteer opportunities in marketing specifically that would apply to marketing. And the second question was regarding project management experience and how that applied in the workforce. And if you didn't have it, how did you manage projects without that experience? Right?
I don't have any specific organization from a volunteer and for a marketing perspective, but there's a lot of organizations out there looking for folks who have marketing knowledge. So I think it's, the other folks may have some specific examples, but I think it's more about what you're interested in. There's a lot of organizations out there, whether it's sports or it's business or folks that are helping raise money for sick kids or whatever it is. There's just so many out there. I couldn't name them all. But so there's always somebody looking for folks with marketing experience because that helps get their message out. The second question you had, though, is a really good one. I actually, my last 2 years at Atlantic Lottery, worked in a project management environment, and I didn't take project management, but I loved it, and I learned a lot. So I didn't study it, but I certainly learned a lot while I was there, and I still today, even though I'm not in project management, I actually treat my day-to-day similar to that you would treat a project. So the skills that I learned during that time were certainly irreplaceable and something that I will take with me the rest of my career. So if you've studied it, fantastic. There's a lot of great opportunities out there. If you haven't studied it, it's definitely something worth looking into because it's certainly a valuable asset to have for any organization.
I'll leave the project management aside because I think Ken can probably speak to that to a great deal. With respect to marketing and organizations, I mean, to put it simply, you go to the Mount. So when I monitor Hootsuite throughout the day, and I see people tweeting about the university, sometimes I take that and I turn it into a graphic that I then share on Facebook. You know, that's content marketing. So you don't have to have a formalized opportunity put in front of you. You know, you're here. All of you could, you know, consider yourselves marketers for whatever you want to say you love. And organizations, that is priceless. You're ambassadors. You know, Tanis is one. You know, all of you are ambassadors for something. And so consider what you're into, and then put that to work for yourself. You know, or approach an organization, say, you have an event upcoming, I see. Do you have anyone who's working in marketing? I'd love to be part of that. So again, you've got to be your own business development director and kind of go after that stuff.
I think we're very blessed here in Halifax with the amount of special events that we have. I could list off 5 or 6 events that are coming up: the University Cup, Sand Jam, the World Curling. But I'll go back to my own experience. In 2000, Halifax hosted the Memorial Cup, and even though my company was involved, I still volunteered, and I ran, believe it or not, a beer hospitality room. Well, it wasn't a big stretch for me. Then in 2002, the World Juniors came, and I worked security. Again, I wanted to have a bigger role, but I got in the door through security. And again, this is all volunteering. I'm established in my career. And then in 2008, the World Championships came, and I got a much more elevated role, and I worked with a specific team. And then in 2010, my work here in Halifax, those 3 events, got me a ticket to go to the Olympics. So with any of these events that are in Halifax, you start, you know, like I was doing security, but I learned how the event worked. And when the next event came, I was elevated to the next position, and so on and so on. So Halifax is very blessed. You can get plugged into any of those very easily. They're all looking for volunteers, and we've got world-class events. On the project management side, as a sales professional, that's not the definition of project management. It's a defined start and a defined end. Mine's a cycle. But working for a small, independent, family-owned company, I got thrown a lot of projects that I never had any knowledge of, or I basically had to research on my own. I do a little bit of HR and training the summer sales staff for the Maritimes. We're constantly creating new software for our sales guys. I'm not a techie guy, but I just kind of, again, where the rubber meets the road, the functional part. So the project management side has helped me, even though it's not in my day-to-day. I'm always throwing a couple times a year new projects, which I have to get my traditional work done, and this on the side. And it allows me to clarify and see, okay, what's the end result? What do I absolutely want to come out of this with? And then I always just work the equation backwards.
Does anyone else want to share?
Yeah, with the volunteer aspect, I mean, there's a number of nonprofit organizations, and as Ken mentioned, any learning experience is a good one, and you know, knowledge is key. So the more experience you can have, the more opportunities you have to contribute to any conversation and to any type of work that you may go into. And as far as the project management is concerned, you know, experience is good. It's always good to have experience, and it's always good to relate to what people are going through your own experiences and be able to mentor in that regard. You know, you know, sometimes you may not have the opportunity to gain that experience. So, you know, opportunities to learn through others from their experiences and being a good listener can always contribute to some of those types of conversations and projects.
All right. Do we have any other questions? That gentleman in the, almost at the back.
That's a great question. It's a great question. I'll tell you why. Because, and if you didn't hear the question, this gentleman asked, what is the Halifax Airport Halifax International Airport Authority doing to increase the experience for passengers, both, I'm assuming that you mean both those who are leaving and coming to our facility. Coming? So it's a great question. I tell you why, because I literally just came from a meeting where we're talking about that, and we talk about that all the time. It's a part of our culture. It's part of our branding exercise that we're doing. So one of the things that it's just funny that you asked that. One of the things that we just talked about, literally about 2 hours ago, was, what is it people want to feel when they come to the airport? And so we talk about, sense of ease, because at the end of the day, our first priority is safety, safety of our passengers. And then the next thing is really for people to feel comfortable and to feel welcome. So we do a number of things that we're doing today, and then there's a number of things that we're going to do in the future. Today, we have a volunteer team of about 100 people who actually volunteer their time. I should have actually put that little tag in there for you. And what those folks do is they walk around the airport and they make sure that people, if they look like they don't know where they're going, or they look like they're upset or stressed or just curious, they'll go up to them and ask them if they can help them. But we take it a little bit a step further. We have about 1,500 people that work in our building, not just with the Halifax Airport, but with other companies. And within those people, we have a program called the Stanfield Way. And it's a customer service program that we have about 695 people so far that have gone through it. And that program essentially is to be courtesy, kind, and helpful to our passengers. So if I was walking through the terminal building and I saw somebody that looked like they were lost or upset or just more curious, I would automatically stop and see if I can help them. So that's one thing that we're doing. A number of other things that we're looking at doing is just different programs where if there's a special group of people coming in, we would have signage and people designated at arrivals for those folks. We do that with some programs today, but we're looking at enhancing that. We're looking at a number of other ways to just brightening up our arrivals location. We have brightened up the rest of our building. So there's a whole lot of things that we're working on, whether it requires an investment or not. But I'm glad you asked that question, because for us, customer experiences. Oh, you do? Wow. An entrepreneur, that's great. Well, I will gladly take your proposal. Thank you.
And that's how you do it, folks.
Exhibit A.
All right, so we have time for one more question. Does anyone have a question that they'd like to address? For the whole panel, okay. Yeah. So the question is, how do you in your different industries accommodate students in your companies? Is that the question? Okay, so given college students' schedules, how do you accommodate them in your companies?
Do you mean from a volunteerism perspective or a mentorship?
I can comment from an employment perspective. Students are welcomed in our world because we're so seasonal, and seasonality creates challenges to keep people employed 12 months of the year. So we really welcome the opportunity, especially with Murphy's the Cable Wharf, where July and August is our busiest time of year, that students are a big part of our team in the sense that, we can't employ people for 12 months, although we need them in a good 4-month period, July and August being the busiest, that it's a great opportunity for us because it allows us to create that employment and fill the need that we have.
I think for us at the Halifax Airport, we hire students, whether it's on work terms or through other programs. We're huge fans of hiring students, and we're also big fans of folks who work for us to go back to school if they want to. So we're very accommodating. We recognize the fact that there are students out there, and I'm a big believer, and I think it's because I worked my way up through different companies, but I'm a huge believer of giving folks opportunities and giving students the chance to, even if you don't have all the experience that you're looking for in a position, I'm a big fan of bringing people on that certainly can add and gain that experience, whether it's through a student program or not. So we're very, very accommodating. And I think you'll find most organizations are becoming more so today, I think, than ever, especially, we want to keep our young folks, we want to get them working, and we also want to keep them here. So I think there's certainly more and more organizations in my travels over Halifax have have expressed that for sure.
We actually look for the busy person. So the busier a person is, chances are the more they can get done. And we also look for a person who's very well networked. So whether it's a social club, whether it's a sporting team, whether he works another part-time job that actually has lots of people he or she can contact, we look for the busy person because traditionally they're the A-type personality that's going to get it done for us.
Does anyone else have any comments?
I have 2 full-time employees during the year, but in the summer I take on a summer student. Usually, first to third year marketing student. So they work full-time from June till the end of August. But during the year, I only have full-time employees, but I always look for a summer student. This is my second year with one to give my full-time employees a time for vacation and extra support.
And I think I'm the last one. I mean, I work for the Mount, and this is where you are getting, or furthering your education. We have, of course, the formalized co-op program, but, in what I do every day, sometimes I've gone to the students through guest lecturing or kind of networking events, and coffee. Who up here doesn't drink coffee? You don't drink coffee. He drinks beer.
Not when I'm driving.
But I think it's important, most people who work in this setting would be willing to sit down with you and lend some advice. I know I would. I mean, that's a lot of coffee potentially in the room, but that's okay. Just be okay to ask someone, and I'm certain that it will be met with a let's schedule.
All right, perfect. Before you applause, Danny has a question.
Shannon mentioned get to know Excel, and one of the things we emphasize in the marketing program here at the Mount is numbers. So I was wondering how important numbers are in your roles.
I work in media, and it's 80% math. You need to figure out how you're reaching who, what percentage. That's why I stress Excel. I spend a lot of my time in Excel. You have to negotiate with stations. I buy on rating points, on cost per clicks. It's all, it's the majority of it's math. So I can't stress enough how important numbers are. It's a huge part of it on the analytics side. And again, in Excel, you can pretty much do anything. So that's why that is important. But a lot of people, who are left-brained, I think, lean towards advertising, but they're going to be the creative directors and not the media strategists.
Yeah, and for us, it's similar, knowing numbers in the sense of yield management, making sure our fleet is utilized to its fullest. Our utilization schedules are very important, adhering to the sales figures. So Excel helps us in all those areas to maximize our profits and maximize our revenue.
I mean, everybody in business is in business to make money. So profit and loss is something every conversation, every day, we crunch numbers and we analyze. There's an awful lot of opportunities for me to go out there and sell beer, but I have to make sure that there's a return on the investment that keeps the company afloat. So I have to know every day where I am year to date versus what I'm allowed to spend for a budget, where I am year to date tracking my sales numbers. So I have to make sure that I hit the number they set out for me with the money they give me. So the old joke in the beer business is, it could rain every single day and you miss selling your targeted number, but there's absolutely no reason in the world why you go over budget on your own forecasting.
Yeah, and you're never going to work in a department. I've heard some people say, oh, well, it's okay, I'm just responsible for this, I don't manage a budget. And despite whether you yourself will manage that particular budget, you still are part of the equation. That's either a plus or a minus at the end of the day. I remember from the event world, we would have 500 tickets, and we had event budgets that were lined up to the very number where if we only had 375 tickets, what was the bottom line? Someone would call and say, I just sold 10 more. What's my bottom line now? And you have to be really quick nowadays. It's pretty pressure intensive, but numbers can really make the difference. And it's not only about numbers. It's also about how you're conveying those numbers so it has meaning. So, you can look at the bottom of a spreadsheet or Google Analytics and so what? What does this mean? And how are you going to use it to improve the bottom line?
Yeah, and marketing is a very metric-driven it's a very metric-driven or not organization, but profession. It is funny because I know when I first got into business and started looking at marketing, I just assumed it was, reading things and being a part of putting together proposals. But yeah, numbers are huge. I do echo Shannon's learn how to use Excel because I learn how to use it every day. And I actually, we have an analyst just started with us, and he's fantastic at it. So he's going to give me a refresher course. But I use it. I use Excel every single day of my job. Metrics are huge for our organization, and it's all about accountability. So if you understand how you're being measured and how your organization's being measured, you'll be that much more successful. So
Excellent.
definitely numbers.
Right, so let's give our panelists a round of applause again. I'm sure I could say on behalf of all the students here that we really appreciate the insights that you brought to us and your experience and your willingness to share that with us today. So we really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And everyone, stay in your seats. The stamps are coming to you. Please make sure that your sections are filled out on the page, okay? And then Allison or Miriam will be stamping your passports. Right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll see you Wednesday.
Sean, I just had to thank you. Yeah.